Welcome to the official grid strategy teaching tutorial of FMZ quant trading platform. The grid strategy is a very simple and effective trading strategy. In the cryptocurrency contract exchange, we use yield-based perpetual contract trading. Even if we do not have the corresponding currency, we can short it by using USDT only. The USDT is used for trading and accounting earnings, and it can be leveraged. When the exchange account is set to one-way position mode, compared with the spot grid trading, perpetual contracts are more convenient and simple. Of course, this kind of margin trading is with the risk of closeout, which can be large or small. First, we can click on the control center on the top navigation bar of our platform, and then click on the strategy page on the left navigation bar. After entering into the strategy page, we can see that in the list of strategies, we have generated a strategy in advance, and this is the multi-species grid strategy for perpetual contracts. Then we click on the strategy. We can see that the rented strategy will be shown in red, which means it is not the strategy developed by our own, or we have no source code of the strategy. Then we click on the strategy name to jump to the strategy backtesting page. Of course, we can see the strategy code on this page. We can only use backtesting, read the profile and manual of this strategy. On this strategy backtesting page, we can see the strategy parameters. Exchange backtesting can be added. The logic of the grid strategy is very simple, with only two core parameters. The first one is the grid trading value, which we can see on the strategy parameters. Since this is a multi-species strategy, it can be separated by commas, spacing the value of each grid trading node to be set for different species. For example, our default parameters have four currencies: DYDX, FIL, ENS, and AR, and the four currencies are separated by commas in English format. In addition, the parameters of the grid value are also separated by commas in English format. The grid trading value is mainly used to set how much contract value each grid node needs to sell or buy when it wants to sell or buy. For example, we set the grid trading value as 100, which means that when the grid node trading is triggered, a USDT contract with a value of 100 is bought. The second core parameter is the grid spacing ratio. We can see that the grid spacing ratio is this parameter. It is set as percentage. For example, if we set it as 0.01, it means that the parameter is 1%. That is to say, the price increases by 1% or decreases by 1%. Of course, it is based on the base price when the grid starts to run. A rise of 1% or fall of 1% will trigger a grid long or short. Every time the price rises by 1% or falls by 1%, the second grid point will be triggered. That is, if the grid spacing percentage is set as 0.01, it means that its parameter is 1%. The strategy runs with an initial price as the basic price. Of course, this initial price can also be specified. When the market changes, the price rises or falls more than the grid spacing ratio. For example, the grid spacing ratio is set as 0.01. When the price rises or falls more than 1% of the basic price, the sell or buy operation will be performed. When the price rises more than 1%, sell, that is, go short. When the price falls 1%, buy, that is, go long. The value of selling or buying Buying at this point is based on the parameters set by the grid value. For example, 100 and a short or long operation of 100U is performed. If the price oscillates back and forth in a certain range, then the grid strategy will continue to be alive. Although the market is fluctuating most of the time, one of the risks of the grid strategy lies in the unilateral trend of the market. At this time, the grid strategy will produce some obvious floating losses and may also cause closeout in severe cases. Therefore, the grid strategy requires the user to set certain risk control on the grid parameters according to their own asset, risk preference, trading plan, and control of the market. So the size of the grid trading risk is closely related to the parameters. For example, the grid is set up with larger spacing and smaller trading amount per grid node, so that the grid is significantly more risk resistant. Next, we will look at the introduction and the description of the strategy. You can see that there is a Chinese and English introduction and description on the page. The type of strategy is mainly a grid type trading logic. The supported market is the cryptocurrency contract market. Mainly support three exchanges: OKEX, FTX, and Binance. It supports multi-currency trading. Of course, multi-currency tradings are supported. Of course, the denomination currency of multi-currency trading must be the same. For example, there is both USDT and BUSD for margin in Binance. If our strategy is going to trade for several varieties, it must be all USDT or all BUSD for margin, not a mixture, because the strategy does not support mixed mode. That is, the variety of contract margins must be the same. It is also stated in the description of the position mode. The position mode must be set as one-way position. If it has not been set, then the strategy will set the position mode to one-way position automatically when it starts to run, and the strategy does not support backtesting. Only real-bot operations supported, because a large number of exchange I/O interfaces are used in it. The backtesting system does not support these features, so during backtesting, an unsupported error will be reported. When using it, we use a Docker that must have access to the exchange's network interface, such as Amazon servers or servers provided by other VPS operators. As long as the network has access to the exchange interface. Take a look at the strategy parameters. The first parameter is used to determine the name of the margin. That is the name of the denominated currency. For example, on Binance Exchange, where USDT is used as a margin contract, USDT must be filled in this place. The following are the specific currencies to be done, separated by commas. For example, there are 4 kinds of currencies set here. That is, the USDTU standard contracts of 4 currencies. Of course, the following parameters also need to be set to 4, separated by English commas. 2. In the mode column, we can choose the grid mode, which allows we to choose to go long or go short at the base price, and do them all at the same time. For example, at a base price, go short by some percent of the base price, and then go short after some percent. Go long when it falls more than some percent of the base price, that is buy. The second mode is to go long only. For example, the current price only falls below the base price by 1%, 2%, 3%, etc. Of course, it is related to the parameters we set. Go long when it falls and do not go short when it rises. In addition, there is a mode of short only. That is, only go short when the price rises and do nothing when the price falls. These are the three modes in general. These three modes can be analyzed in digital currency contracts. The risk of going long is often less than the risk of shorting. When going long, even if the price falls, there is a certain limit. But when going short, if the price rises, there is no obvious limit. This is the consideration when choosing to go long or go short. The following parameter is grid value, which sets the unit of margin. For example, here we set margin of USDT and fill in 100 here, which means that whenever grid trading is triggered, the contract value of 100 USDT is traded. The following parameter is called the initial price, which is the base price. If the base price is filled with 0, it will use the current price as the base price automatically. If the strategy stops running, it will still read the base price recorded last time. If we want to specify a certain price as the base price, just set it specifically in the blank column. If the server is migrated, for example, by changing the Docker, then the data recorded in the strategy library will be not available at this time. When the strategy is running, if we want to continue running based on the last base price, just fill in here to specify the last price. The following parameter is the grid spacing ratio. That is the scale of the spacing between each node of the grid. For example, it is set as 0.01 here. That is, the trading distance between two nodes in the grid is 1% of the base price. This parameter is a unified parameter. That is, all varieties are executed according to the specified parameter as the grid spacing. The following parameter is the leverage setting, which can be used to set the leverage of the trading variety. For example, if it is set as 10, it is 10 times of the leverage. The following parameter is the time interval, which is used to control the frequency of strategy runs. If it is set as 1, it means that the strategy will pause for 1 second for each logical execution. It is not only used to control the frequency of strategy polling, but also the frequency of strategy access interfaces. The following parameter is to close the position. If we want to close the position when the strategy reaches a certain level, we can check this parameter, and all positions will be closed when the strategy is running. The last parameter is to adjust the profit, such as running the grid strategy to generate a profit, earning 100U, 200U, 300U, etc. At this time, if you want to extract the grid profit from the account, once it is transferred out, the profit data will be messed up. So this parameter is used to synchronize income. For example, we have earned 300U for this grid strategy now. If we want to extract 100U, we can set this parameter as 100. After the extraction, we run the strategy, and the profit data will be synchronized at this time. In other words, we tell the strategy that I have withdrawn 100U from the profit, and let the strategy continue to count according to the profit value. to ensure that the strategy profits data statistics will not be messed up. After introducing all the parameters, let's demonstrate how to run a real bot. As we have already mentioned before, there are three elements needed to run a real bot: a strategy, a Docker, and an exchange. We create a one-click deployment Docker on the Docker page. Select Singapore as the Docker's deployment computer room and rent a server. We need to enter our FMZ account password here and click verification button. We can see the start of one-click automatic deployment of the server. Let's wait for a moment. Now we have the strategy and the Docker is being deployed. We also need to configure the API key of the exchange on the platform. Click on the exchange page on the platform. Then click on Add Exchange. Find OKEX exchange in the list. Add future exchanges. And click on Future Exchange. Enter the API key information in the blank column on the right. Since we have applied for the API key in advance, we just need to copy and paste it into the corresponding place. And we can name it OKEX Futures Test. At this time, we also need to enter the login password of the FMZ account for verification. After successful verification, we can see that the exchange has been configured. At this time, we'll look back at our Docker. It has also been deployed by one click. At this point, we have the strategy and Docker, and we have the exchange configured, so we can create the real bot. We click on the real bot page. On the left navigation bar, click on the Add Robot button. Jump to the Add Real Bot setting page. Select the Docker we just deployed with one click. And then choose a multi-species grid strategy. Here we can name it as test. In these parameters, we can see that if we want to reduce the risk of the grid, we can increase the distance between each node, such as setting the node to 0.05. That is, when the price rises or falls by 5%, a grid trade is performed. For the exchange, we choose the OKEX futures test that we just configured. Set ETH USDT and click the Add button. Modify the currency to the mainstream ETH and LTC. If there is two kinds of currencies, set two kinds of grid trading values and initial values to maintain synchronization with the currency. And finally, click the button of Add Robot. Before running it, we cannot ignore the parameters of the trading value. That is, we need to consider a certain exchange contract. Because the contracts of different exchange platforms may be different, we need to consider the minimum trading volume of the contract, such as OKEX, the U standard perpetual contract of ETH USDT. The value of one contract is 0.1 ETH. At present, the value of 0.1 ETH is higher than 100 U. So if we buy 100 U at this time, it is not enough for one contract, and the order will end in failure. Therefore, the parameters of ETH need to be modified because 100 you cannot buy a contract, so we modify the grid value to 150. However, the value of the Litecoin contract is 1 Litecoin, and the value of 1 Litecoin is only more than 50 U, so setting the grid value to 100 is enough, even if it was changed to 80, as long as the modified parameters are not less than the value of a contract. At this point, when we click on Add Robot button, we can see that the robot has been created, and there are pending order information, initial information, trading variety information, and current income statistics on this page. This is how we use the official strategy to create a great trading robot. Thank you.